Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to show you how to make whole wheat bread at home. The bread I'm making is rustic bread, which is very easy to make. You don't need any bread loaf tin. You just need a baking sheet and a parchment paper or baking mat to make this bread. So it's very easy to make. You don't have to knead it for long. I make this bread often, and I'm showing you the two methods which I often make. So the first method is with some ground flax seeds, and in the second method I'm just using only plain whole wheat flour. The whole wheat flour I'm using is ground in the local mill. What I do is I buy whole wheat grain and then wash it thoroughly and then sun dry it for about 2 to 3 days, and then I take it to the local mill and grind it. Sometimes what I do is, once the dough is fermented, I divide the dough into half, and with one portion I make a small rustic bread, and I'll then store the other portion in an airtight glass container and keep it in the fridge so that I can make pita bread or buns as and when needed. It's very easy to make. You don't have to buy brown bread or whole wheat bread from bakery anymore. Store-bought bread may contain many added preservatives and many additives. So try to make bread at home with whole wheat flour. And guys, I have recently started being active on Instagram. Do follow me there for daily updates and to know what is happening in my life. So without much ado, let's get started with the recipe. To make eggless whole wheat bread, first I'm going to grind 2 tablespoons of flax seeds. So for that I'm adding 2 tablespoons flax seeds into my small chutney grinder, and I'm just going to grind it. So I have ground the flax seeds, and you can see that it is coarsely ground. Now into a bowl I'm adding in 3 1/4 cups of whole wheat flour. Note that I'm using whole wheat flour and I'm not using store-bought whole wheat flour. What I have done is I bought whole wheat grains and then washed it thoroughly and then sun-dried it, and then I gave it to the local mill to get it powdered. Into that I'm adding in the ground flax seeds. Now mix this really well. Into a large bowl I'm adding in 1 1/2 cups of lukewarm water. Sprinkle in 3/4 tablespoon instant yeast. As you can see, the yeast has already started to activate. So if the temperature is correct, instant yeast will start to activate. And now I'm adding in 1/2 teaspoon salt, and with a spatula I'm just lightly mixing it up. And then I'm adding in the whole wheat flour and ground flaxseed mix. Now with a spatula just mix it well. And then I'm using my hands to lightly knead it. And note that the dough is slightly sticky. The dough does stick to your fingers, so this is the right consistency. I just kneaded it a couple of times and the dough is slightly sticky also. And now I'm going to cover it with a clean cotton towel and keep it to ferment for about 3 hours. Fermentation time also depends upon the climate of the place you live in. So let's keep this for about 3 hours. So it's about 3 hours and the dough has risen well, as you can see. I make this bread often, and sometimes I divide the dough into half and make a smaller bread with one half, and I'll store the other half in the refrigerator and make pita bread and buns as and when needed. And I also make this without flaxseed. So what I'm doing is, with a spatula I'm just removing the bread from the sides. Now this bread dough is very sticky, so it will stick to your hands. So I'm just gathering the dough into the middle of the bowl, and once I have gathered the dough into the middle of the bowl, I'm just sprinkling in whole wheat flour, and I'm just going to coat the dough with the flour. and really coat the bread dough in the flour. I'm just lightly kneading the dough and making it into a round dough. Don't give much pressure when you knead the dough. I'm sprinkling in some more whole wheat flour, and then I'm just coating the dough in the flour. You can even roll it like this so that it forms a nice round shape. I have a baking mat. If you don't have this, you can use parchment paper or butter paper. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just gently transferring the bread dough into the sheet, and I'm just going to give it a light shape. The reason why I'm not using a bread loaf tin is because I want to make a rustic bread. Once baked, this will become like a rustic Italian bread, which you can find in many bakeries these days. So there is actually no need for a loaf tin to make bread. You can just simply plop it on your baking sheet like this and make. Now the next thing you need to do is slightly cut with a knife to make a small gash. This will help the air to release out, and we'll get a very soft, moist, crunchy bread. Now before putting this in the oven, you need to keep this for another 15 minutes so that it proofs again. So I'm just going to keep this covered for another 15 minutes. And 15 minutes later, this is how the bread dough looks. It has slightly doubled again, and now it is ready to bake. So I have already preheated my oven to 180 degrees Celsius, and I will be baking the bread for about 30 to 35 minutes. If you want the bread crust to be very crunchy, you can bake it for 35 minutes, and for a slightly softer crust, you can bake around 25 to 30 minutes. So I'm going to place this in my preheated oven. Okay, now the bread has been baking for about 30 minutes now, and it is perfectly baked. So I'm just transferring it to a wire rack to help it cool. Now to know whether the bread has baked well, you just need to tap on the crust. And if you hear a hollow sound, that means the bread is nicely baked. So this is how it looks underneath. So let me also show you how I store this bread in the fridge. So what I do is I cover it with a clean cotton cloth like this, and then I place it in a Ziploc bag. So this is how I store the bread in the fridge. Remember to keep the bread in the fridge, as we are not adding any preservatives in this homemade bread. So I'll just slice the bread and show you how it looks inside. As you can see, the bread has perfect texture, and the crust is crunchy and it is soft. You can serve it with homemade pineapple and chia jam. This pineapple and chia jam is made without any added sugar. Homemade pineapple and chia jam. This jam is made without any added sugar. So guys, do try this recipe and let me know how this turned out. Don't forget to like, comment and share this video with family and friends. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care. Bye bye.